I think we are all here. Good morning. Let's begin because we have many papers to go through today, and we also have to finish in time if you want to go to see the Sun Temple, Konark, and the beach. So that's the sort of carrot. Okay. We'll start with the paper that was left over from yesterday. Leslin, his paper is The Digital Church in the 21st Century, Present and Future. You want to present from there? Okay, please.
So let me start. My paper is The Digital Church in 21st Century, Present and Future. So my paper talks about how digital media can be used by the church for its activities and how people are perceiving it and how the technology can be used in the future. So today we all are connected with this web called the internet. Every one of us might have some Android phone or some iPhone. So we all are connected. We all are connected in this place called internet. And cyberspace technology, like we know, have seen a steady growth in the last decade, be it sort of technology or being in real time. And the world is witnessing an unprecedented communication revolution in form of digital media, digital communication since the advent of printing press and the analog technology that we know about. Introduction. There's a church document, Inter Mirifica. In 1963, it stated that media, if properly utilized, can be of great service to mankind. And taking this forward, the church embraced motion picture, radio, and television, and also internet, social media in the 21st century. Now, the digital world of social media offers great potential for spreading of the gospel message that the Christians talk about. And taking this thing forward, Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI is the first Pope to have his own YouTube and Facebook account. Pope Francis, during his message, during a recent message on communication and mercy, he said that the internet can help us to be better citizens. Access to digital network entails a responsibility for our neighbor, whom we do not see, but who is nonetheless real and has a dignity which must be respected. The internet can be used wisely to build a society which is healthy and open for sharing. The aim of my study is to analyze and focus on the role of digital communication that it plays in the present day church, and focus on the role it can adopt in the future, and also the possible influences of digital communication on the spiritual growth of an individual. The paper is based on an ongoing in-depth research study, and presently the study is going on in Ahmedabad and Gandhinagar, which comes under the Diocese of Ahmedabad. So this is a profile of my respondents. I had 100 respondents, 53% were male and 47 were female. And they were all under 30 years of age, divided into two age categories, under 25 years and 26 to 30 years. And 83% respondents were Catholics, 7% were Orthodox Christians, and 4% were Marthoma. And a huge portion of these respondents were students. So this is the ownership pattern. We all know that no major aspect of modern life is untouched by the way many of us now use information technology. And also there are two researchers, Palfrey and Gezer. They said even religion has been transformed. Priests, pastors, imams, rabbis, gurus, and even Buddhist monks have begun to reach out to the faithful through digital medium, through their weblogs. So, like Binod sir was talking yesterday, that even a poor person in our country, even if he stays in a hut, he has a television and a mobile phone. So it is very true. In my study, I found out that 97% respondents had a smartphone with internet, and 93% of them had internet facility at home. But out of this, only 49% respondents use digital media for religious information and knowledge, whereas 84% respondents used it also for secular information and knowledge. Okay, 66% of respondents shared and viewed religious videos and songs, while 62% used it for festival greetings, like during Christmas or Easter, they used to share greetings. 58% respondents shared gospel messages with their friends and acquaintances. This is like sharing of Bible verses. It was observed that the youth groups use smartphones to decide upon various activities, church activities and meetings. So if they are planning to gather on a Sunday for some meeting, so they will share the agenda and the timing and the location through the WhatsApp groups. But still, even though they used WhatsApp and other mediums to communicate, it was seen that very low percentage of respondents were actually using religious applications. And one of the reason is it is not that popular among the youth, and it has not been marketed in a proper way. 68% respondents had access to television, and out of that 75% believed, and they mentioned that television plays a major role in spreading of religious belief and thoughts. And this can be for Christians in India, this can be credited to the television channels, various television channels of different denominations that are telecasted 24/7 through the satellite medium. And most of the telecast is through English language. Religious use of social media. 94% respondents use a smartphone to access their social media, and 76% of the respondents use YouTube to watch religious videos. 47% respondents believe that access to social media has helped them to have positive religious debates, while 35% believe that social media had helped them to have a deeper belief in religious dogma. 28% mentioned that social media had helped them understand Christianity better, while 21% respondents felt that social media was nothing more than a pastime and fun. Okay, this was interesting. The way the respondents were using digital media for secular purposes, 33% believed that the dependency on religious leaders have decreased because of the digital media. So they would prefer accessing internet and to get information while other than going to a priest and to talk to them. So future of digital media in church. Like I said, my one of the aim was to see how social media will play a major role in our church. So we have seen high penetration of digital platform among the respondents, and 53% believe that digital media does not pose any threat to the church. I asked them a question that do they feel that digital media might pose a threat to the church, but 53% of them were like, no, it wouldn't. So here is like I was saying that they would prefer going to actual church than the virtual church. 70% of respondents believe that digital media doesn't pose a threat to the individual spirituality, while 92% respondents said that they would prefer going to church rather than substituting internet for the same. So, and 49% believe that presence of church on digital platform have helped in creating a stronger ties among the community. But in Ahmedabad and Gandhinagar, as it was observed, church as such, be it any church, be it a Catholic church or a Protestant church, they don't have the presence, they don't have a website. What they do is they have their own blogs or they have a Facebook page. So, and it is not updated on daily basis or weekly basis. So the information that the church announces during a service is not reflected on the website. And 87% respondents believe that physical church is better compared to the virtual church for their spiritual needs. So I would conclude saying that the social media revolution isn't just significant for the church, it needs to be an important part, maybe in the future. And church faces a challenge in terms of setting up a proper infrastructure to tap the potential of digital technology like our Western counterparts have done. So this is a thing that the church will have to actually embrace maybe in the coming years. So that's it, thank you. But I'll show you a video. The video is created by a person called Carlton, and he basically has a website called the iChurch method. So this is a guy who actually is providing technology to church, how to promote the message of Christianity, and he actually reaches out to various churches. So this particular video talks about how the present technology can be used in future and how the technology would be helping in future.
When my children were younger, I would give them iPads to hold their attention while I had to tend to other things. This early introduction helped them become comfortable with technology at an early age. Many of us have all seen toddlers who have been given an iPad or smartphone and watched them click and swipe to their favorite apps or watch their favorite Netflix cartoon. The fact that these kids can work these mobile devices without instruction or supervision is amazing in itself. But what's even more amazing is that the technology that these kids are using is the oldest technology they will see in their lifetime. The iPads and mobile devices that we think are groundbreaking will be like 8 tracks and Betamaxes to the kids when they get older. So the question is, if the church is behind the technology now, how will it look in the future trying to reach a digitally native generation that is fully immersed in technology and has been since they were toddlers? The digital natives and millennials are used to having an internet that is customized to their needs. Their Facebook feeds are customized for them to see what they want to see, and their Google search results are customized for them to see what they want to see. Thus, they are used to having an online experience that caters to them. When they look at their online or offline church experience and it's outdated or disconnected, it doesn't fit every other aspect of their connected lives, and therefore they disconnect. But contrary to what certain churches think, they don't disconnect from church or God altogether. They just disconnect from the churches that don't meet them where they are at, which is online. In terms of church, millennials and digitals will look for innovative, immersive, engaging, and customized online experiences. They will get this in every other aspect of their lives. Why should they feel their faith-based inspirational experiences will be different? They will live lives that have no boundaries between online and offline. They will build online communities that have offline components and have offline experiences that have online audiences. The church will need to look at how they do church offline and figure out how to apply that in an online space. Here is a glimpse of the future of church that I see based on what technologies we have now and what's emerging. When we look at the Internet of Things in an always connected future, we can conceivably see a future where we are never disconnected, and the things we look at in every day will now be smart objects that are Internet connected. We will get up in the morning and either our smartwatch or some web-enabled device will let us know how we slept and what we have planned for the day. As we walk to the mirror to brush our teeth and wash our face, we will see a smart mirror that has a screen where we see a motivational scripture or a clip of an inspirational message. As we walk to the smart refrigerator, it will tell us what we should eat based on how we fit our smart clothes and how our diet goals that we want to achieve. Additionally, on the panel of the fridge will be a Bible verse that we want to remember for the day, or even a continuation of the sermon we were watching in the bathroom mirror. As we gather our items for the day to go out and about, we look at our watch and it gives us our vitals as well as our exercise goals we have for the day. We tell our family goodbye, but we are never disconnected from them, as we can always see where they are and communicate with them from our mobile device or smartwatch. As we leave, we put on our smart glasses and we look around our neighborhood, and the glasses show us which neighbors could use a motivational post on social media or a word of encouragement based on our neighbors' social media updates. We can choose to stop by or send a message online, or we could just go on about our day. Lastly, we get into the car and we go to work. But since the cars are self-driving, the entire windshield is a screen and shows the weekly sermon or podcast we wanted to listen to that we missed. If that's not something we want to do, then we join our internet church online group Bible study that have members from all around the world, and we all video in and stay connected and talk about our weekly spiritual goals. That's just a glimpse of the internet-connected future that the church can play a role in by taking the life-changing gospel message and making it available using innovative methods. Take church outside the walls and to the people as missionaries do. But instead of traditional missionaries, think about the impact of digital missionaries and the ever-growing digital mission field. That's the future of the church.
So that's it. Yeah, thank you.
Any questions? Sir?
If you had taken a 50 years and above age group,
Yes.
what would have been the possible results?
Looking at Ahmedabad, I think the results would have been different, because it would have been 50-50. Half of them would have preferred social media, but the other half would have not preferred social. They would have gone for the traditional methods. Yeah, youth group, they are using the digital medium, but they are not preferring it for the religious purposes. they still believe going to church is better than watching a podcast or some sermon on YouTube or some other channel.
No, maybe it's because they can now move around. They're physically fit and fine, and they have the time to go to the church. But what about people? Uh, in fact, all these television channels that you have, religious television channels in India, if you look at it, their viewership is more from people who are retired and things.
Yes, I know that. There are certain days when they are right in front of the TV. I know that, but still, I have seen that even people who are not who are not that mobile, at least once a week they'll make sure that they come to a church. That's what I have observed. Might be a different case in some other place, but the parishes that I went around, I have observed that.
Yeah, to make use or utilize more of the social media to connect with their
With the
Yeah.
the people with the younger
Yes.
generation, yes, they do tend that. They do tend to do that. But the thing is, they are using social media, they are using digital media. But when it comes to religion, that is what I observed, and it was like, if you are using social media for other purposes, why not religion? So they are like, okay, they saw a song, a gospel song or some Christian band performing, and they're like happy. But when it's come to church services or some other rituals, they would prefer going to church. But I have seen a slight change, like the night vigils that we have. There is one particular channel that on every first Friday of the month they have this live night vigil. Okay, so I have seen people who are right in front of the TV the entire night, from 8 to 12. So you can't change the channel or you can't do anything. They are right in front of there. So that it is changing.
Sorry, what is the impact of your specific methodology which you have used in your study? I mean, to take in another dimension, if you have used a qualitative methodology, I mean, you could able to give space to the observations. I mean, your personal observations. In that sense, I mean, at the same time, there might be some advantages for your specific methodology.
Yeah, I went for a quantitative methodology. Had I gone for qualitative, I think I would have got some more in-depth data. Because this is a pilot study, I am taking this ahead, so I might use quantitative study. Yes, Father.
I'm sure you expect some comments from me.
Yes, definitely, Father.
I have quite some comments, but I do not want to you need an answer immediately. First, I think it's a good as a beginning, but the study needs a lot of more depth.
Yes.
Now, first, you mentioned in the beginning Inter Mirifica.
Yes.
This is a document on communication of the Second Vatican Council.
Yes.
So 1962, 63. There are 8 other documents of the Church on internet
Yes.
which are not there, which you do not mention.
Yes, I did.
There are 6 documents of the popes. And the interesting thing is the first document, Pope John Paul, is from 1990 on church, on religion and computer. And another one is 2002. And Benedict has 4 messages, world communication messages, related to communication. And you would find a fantastic approach and things in these documents, you see. And they are not documents superficially just to say something. They are concerned about the disposition and attitude of the people and how does it help people to grow. And it is not measured on church participation only, but quite some more. Now, in your study, you have, of course, statistical thing. For example, you said 58% say the internet helped them to increase their faith. But that is, for me, not enough. You have to ask why. Why did it increase? Does it mean the servants in the church are not responding to their lives? Or what is the thing? So, I mean, the video at the end is fine. But, I mean, I think for an academic study, I think you have to
Go deeper.
go much more deeper than just, Then you talk about the virtual church. What is a virtual church? What is the church? You have to find that. What is a church? Is the church just a social grouping? Is it like any club? You were in the Bhubaneswar club. Is it a club? Are you a member of the club? Or what is that, In theological perspective, the church is a living community.
Community, yes.
A living community, not a structure necessarily. It's a living community. So how does this living community use and is affected by modern technology, something like that. So you can come from there and you can say, for example, this living community is not only localized, but it is also worldwide and whatever. So there are many perspectives there, no? So I think it would be good to go a little bit more, to go deep and more to the substance of the thing. And also why, see? For example, how you define things, for the disparity and rules of life. What does it mean? So what is the church participation? So it's not only just the church that participates. What we need today, independent from Christianity and independent from church, we need a moral fiber in the use and application of modern technologies. And that is something the religion should contribute and should give beyond Christianity, And there in these messages of the popes, there are fantastic things there that would be worth to go much deeper into that. So this is just my general comment because many other details. So, but I mean, and then also you mentioned what I put down here. What is church participation? How do I participate in the church? Does it depend only on Sunday service? I go there and that's it. Listen to the sermon, go home and do my business. Or what is it? So these are dispositions, and how far are dispositions changed, or how far are dispositions created in people? It comes down to the simple question: how do we respond to modern ways of communication, which are totally different from ways before? And what are the implications of this for all the religions, not only Christianity,
Yes.
what is there? Then another question also, is there on that level a possibility for interreligious dialogue? See, so that also the different religions come together and help each other. So there are many, many things. So I would see, sorry to say, but I mean, I would say your presentation just as an introduction. But the real study
Introduction
still,
for the
the real
real
study has
in-depth
still
study,
to come.
yes.
If you want to read the doctorate or whatever, real study has to come. But there are fun, exciting things there, which should be reflected.
So, Father, I'm taking this study to other parts of the country, other cities also.
Yeah,
So,
but I mean, go beyond statistics.
yeah, to go beyond,
Go
to
beyond
go in depth.
statistics.
So once I have completed that, I'll definitely share the data and the
Yeah.
paper with you.
What I feel, for example, you refer also to the book where I publish all these documents. What I feel, we have not analyzed the documents enough. We should analyze the documents, come up with what are moral principles and what directions do they give for modern living, in this situation.
Okay.
But we cannot discuss it here. But that would be just a general comment on it. Okay.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
you, sir.
very much. Any?
I just want to make a comment.
Yeah.
If we take this study further, there is a need to look at religion-specific response to digital media. Is it the church will respond the same way as the mosque will respond, and the temple will respond the same way as a gurudwara will respond? And that should be seen in a larger global perspective. Thank you.
Have a look at Micah students' recent PhD thesis on Christians in New Delhi. How
Yeah,
Christians-
Benson.
How Christians have
Yes.
incorporated the use of WhatsApp in the churches. It's a brilliant thesis.
Okay.
Both among Catholics and Protestants in New Delhi. Not yet published, but
We have a database already. Use it. Yeah.
So, for me in general, I would also like to see how do the different religions respond to that situation. Comparative study, no? That would be an interesting thing. So how do they respond? See, this is Christianity, this is Catholic Church, Christianity has many groupings in a way, see? So, but not only Christianity, how do the different religions and convictions, how do they respond to this new situation? That will be very interesting comparative study, which we do not have.
Yeah, which basically means that you should get the other side of the story, which to ask the church itself, how do they respond to this?
Yeah, but I mean, it's partly in the documents.
Yes.
You see, if you see the documents, they are fantastic. Really, I'm tempted to make a kind of moral perspective or fiber out from these documents, what do they say? And I'm very much convinced 80% what they say is not only for Christianity, it's for other religions as well. But how do they respond? How do they respond to these things? Yeah. So it's quite a field, but of course the Asian Research Center alone cannot do that. We can only try to stimulate and, and encourage, but not whether if he would have enough money, we could or finance things, but I don't think, since we don't have money, we cannot finance. We can at least put the ideas in the heads of some researchers. So, for example, also in literature on internet and these things, I think there's more literature by now from Islam and from Muslim than from Christianity and others.
All right, thank you. Can we go to the next paper, Anthony? But before you start, while you are getting ready, I have a small little gift that should have gone into your bags but didn't, so I'm going to give them here. These are bookmarks which are hand painted on palm leaf.
From last night?
No.
While we're getting ready, I just want to, for those of you who have access to Facebook, there is an Asian Research Center Facebook page, and I've been uploading pictures of presenters onto the Facebook page. So if you want to see your photo after you present, then you can go into the Facebook page, Asian Research Center for Religion and Social Communication. So good morning. My presentation this morning is on Buddhist environmentalism, and the title of my talk is Buddhist Environmentalism in the Digital Age. And I think we have another talk on Buddhism coming up after this, so this is wonderful that we have some representation of Buddhism in this conference. My topic deals with the ecological crisis. The ecological crisis is an issue that has gained attention in the last 50 years and represents one of the greatest concerns of the modern digital era. And in recent years, religious traditions have been enlisted in this effort in order to address this issue that's been escalating for the last 50 years, and more religion has been involved in this multi-interdisciplinary effort. And this is a problem that requires a interdisciplinary dialectical and dialogical approach. And so religion is among the participants in this collaborative framework. And Buddhism specifically is seen as a resource because aspects of Buddhist teachings are perceived to be environmentally friendly. So in this paper, I will attempt to examine how Buddhism can address environmental concerns in the digital age, especially in the context where the physical and natural environments are increasingly losing grounds to cyberspace in terms of people's consciousness and preoccupation with these spaces. And so one of these questions that will be asked is whether the digital age might possibly result in greater alienation of nature from the everyday life of people and causing more neglect of the needs of the environment. In addition, in view of this reality, how would a religion such as Buddhism play a role in fostering human-nature relationship in ways that promote environmentally positive attitudes and behaviors on the part of human beings? So I just want to give an overview on the digital landscape of Asia, very just broad strokes. Right now, there are 1.4 billion people having access to the internet in Asia. And so Asia accounts for half of the global internet users. And in Asia, Filipinos spend the most time on the internet daily. 6.3 hours, that's over 25% of their day online. Thailand ranks second, 5.5 hours a day, and Vietnamese 5.2 hours a day online. And I think Indians rank about after the Vietnamese or something like that. So Chinese account for nearly half of the social media users in Asia. And of course, in Asia, we have a digital divide where we have some very, very technologically advanced countries and some very poorly developed countries in terms of technology. For example, South Korea has a 25.3 Mbp internet speed compared to the global average, which is only 4.5. And internet penetration in South Korea, Japan, Singapore is nearly 100%, whereas in countries like Nepal and Myanmar, internet penetration is about a few percentage. So we have a vast diversity in terms of internet development in Asia, but we have some of the highest and also some of the lowest in the world. Now, what is the implication for the human-nature relationship in the digital era? When we speak about nature, it is an elastic category. We can speak of nature in this philosophical sense, in which we have to go back to Plato and Aristotle and so on. Or we can speak of it in the scientific sense, which we can speak about ecosystems and things like that. But when I'm speaking about nature in this particular talk, which is in the environmental sense, what I refer to is nature is those things that consist of plants and animal species that has not been interfered by human activities, but also ecosystems that despite human interference still retain characteristics that may be described as natural. However, in addition to animal and plant species, we can also consider material entities such as mountains, sand dunes, caves, the atmosphere, and so on. So, and that's what we speak about when we speak about the environment. If you watch, David Attenborough and his nature programs, this is basically what we mean, right? When we speak about natural degradation and so on. In Asian cultures, nature has been very important in the way we form our identity. And in the past, the relationship between nature and human beings have been characterized by intimacy, connectedness, symbiosis, and interdependence. And in such a way that sometimes we can say that we are part of a single entity or organism. And this kind of relationship is specifically seen in nomadic societies where sustainability is very important to the livelihood of the people and the future of the people. In Asian cultures, for example, in Vietnam, the word for country is comprised of two words, which is land and water. So with land and water makes up the country. And another, when they speak of the nationality, they refer to rivers and mountains. So this speaks about how natural features, entities are integrated into the national and cultural identity of a people. In Thailand, when we speak about the abundance that nature brings, and this creates this kind of laissez-faire attitude among the Thais that, in the field there's rice and in the waters there's fish. So what is there to worry about, right? But modernization has affected our relationship with nature. And George Monbiot calls this phenomenon of modernization and its effect on human being and natures is the estrangement from the ecosystem, in which there is a gradual loss of meaningful involvement with nature, with the benefits as well as dangers that it represents. And while this process of estrangement may have started as early as the beginning of the agricultural revolution, it is manifesting itself more clearly in this digital age. And in this age, relationships, whether human or human to humans or human to nature, are less and less the result of direct interaction and increasingly mediated by digital technology. And we know in the past, when children cried, they were either picked up by their grandmas or aunts or uncles or somebody or a neighbor to help them to be quiet. But nowadays, if children cry, you just throw them an iPad, and then they stop crying, and then you can go on to entertain your guests or do your housework or whatever it is that you need to do, right? And children in the past, are always in the nurturing relationship with their parents, especially the mothers. But nowadays, for example, if you're in the Philippines or if you're in Cambodia or if you're in Thailand, parent-child relationship is usually mediated by applications such as Line or Facebook, because the parents are in Thailand and the children are in Myanmar or Cambodia or Laos. So this parent-child bond is now mediated mostly by technology. And the way the children play nowadays also changed. In the past, for example, in Vietnam, children would take banana stalks and make guns out of them and then shoot each other, But nowadays, children race each other, race cars on tablets and shoot at each other on tablets and so on. So everything has changed in the way people relate to each other as well as the way they relate to the natural surroundings around them. And even though technology has facilitated our relationship with nature in that it brings us closer to nature. Nowadays, there are so many places that are so extraordinary and you never get a chance to go there, but you can go online and you can take virtual tours of these places. For example, the biggest cave and the most extraordinary cave in the world is now in central Vietnam. There is this virtual tour where you can go there and see everything that's in the cave, and it's just wonderful. Or you can go online and see YouTube videos of great whales flipping in the ocean. And so you don't really need to go to these places specifically anymore. You can just explore them online. And in some ways, people even prefer that, because a lot of times, if you spend all this time and money to go on the ship waiting for a whale to flip, it may never flip. You may never see a whale. Or for some other people, it's so nice to see these virtual tours, but once you get there, the reality is actually a lot different from how the people record the pictures or take the photographs. So a lot of times it becomes a disappointment even to go to the actual place. And for a lot of other people, when they actually get to the place, they're so busy taking selfies of themselves and then broadcasting on Instagram or Facebook to tell everybody where they are, that they don't actually take the time to experience or get connected with that, whatever it is that they are experiencing. So that natural landscape or feature becomes just an interesting background for them to share their photo, to sort of put their narcissistic self on display for others. So as you can see in this picture. And a lot of accidents happen in this way, especially when you're on the top of a mountain or in somewhere, So this information, March 2015, right? 7 Indian youths tried to take selfies of themselves on a boat at a lake, and then they fell over, the boat, then they drowned. Right? So they're not there to experience the natural landscapes or the nature. They're there to sort of put themselves on display for others to see. So this is what we mean when we said the technology and the digital age. It helps to bring people to nature physically, but it does not always facilitate this emotional or spiritual connection with nature the way that it should be. It can also facilitate us to understand more about nature intellectually, but again, this emotional connection is not there. And this is what we mean by further alienation from nature. Now, now I would like to go into the Buddhist teachings and how it relates to environmentalism. So again, the understanding, the Buddhist understanding of nature is elastic and multi-layered. There's a word for that means world, which is loka, and loka, it refers to the physical as well as to the non-physical spheres of existence. So it's not necessarily nature in the environmental sense that we speak of. A Thai monk who's now passed away, Buddhadasa, he sees nature as Dhamma, and he says there are 4 aspects to this nature. First aspect is nature itself. The second aspect is the law of nature. The third aspect is the duty of living things in accordance with nature. And finally, the results that come about as a result of these acts. So we can see that Buddhadasa has something that's very encompassing when he refers to nature. Now, another Thai monk who is an academic, his name is Payutto. He's in an article, he says, the perception that mankind is separate from nature and must control, conquer, and manipulate nature according to his desires is one of the factors that lead to the ecological crisis. So, Prabhupada has in mind this sort of interconnectedness between human beings with nature, in which human beings are not separated but a part of nature itself. On the other hand, other monks, for example, Dhammako Ajahn, he says nature is something that is for humanity to foster and to develop and to guard and to protect. So we are not necessarily a part of nature, even though we have our own identity. We are separate from nature in a way, but it doesn't mean that we are alienated from it, and we have this responsibility to care for nature and living in this symbiotic relationship with nature. Even though Buddhism does not have a category for nature in the environmental sense that we understand in this modern era, there are a lot of teachings in Buddhism that refers to nature the way we understand it. And for example, in the Samyutta Nikaya, it says that just as a seed sown in a field is able to sprout due to the factors of soil, nutrients, and moisture, human life comes about due to certain causes. In the same Nikaya, it says human spiritual achievements come about as a result of processes that parallel with those taking place in nature. So what we see is that a lot of Buddhist teachings employ natural phenomenon in order to explain this idea of causes and effects that takes place in the human condition. And besides using nature to teach about the human condition, Buddhism also encourages the people, especially the monks, to contemplate on the events that take place in nature in order to cultivate oneself spiritually. The reason is that natural settings provide a natural experiential ground for realizing impermanence and dependent arising, that is, the nature of the world. And so in the sutra, the Buddhists often encouraged the monks to go to these natural places, a forest, a root of a tree, a mountain, a ravine, a hillside cave, and so on, in order to do their meditations. And when you live in the forest and you encounter these inconveniences, it's also a way for you to develop your virtues. So the monks are told to be aware of these difficulties when they are in the forest, and to understand the important role of nature in the effort. And the Buddha himself exemplify.
No, no. We are actually uh, the reverse baseline. We are going backwards, creating the baseline. But interesting. You should walk around and take a look at this campus.
Yes.
Because when this campus was started, there was actually no earth. This is all entirely on rock. It's a rock bed thing. So over the past 5 years, we actually created earth, mud, and done all the greening out of various uh, methods, which Mr. Bose there will be able to explain. So if you talk to him, he will be able to tell you how we have managed to do this, because the entire land is on rock.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and we are in need of more projects like this and more efforts like this because
There was a time where you land in the airport, you'd find antelopes and deer around. There was a time actually a squad was kept to keep these animals away so the plane could land. I've seen that. I studied in the university here, which is called Banibia, and when the campus was built, we really had animals coming in, okay? Uh, Now, what I'm trying to make a point is, I had been to one of the best tiger reserves in the state. I belong here after a long time, and they were almost boastful that they had some 30 tigers, which is questionable actually. The world life people, contradicted it. We are pretty happy to have that number, which is not correct again, is much less. So the question of baseline has shifted, and we seem to be pretty happy that we have this many. Same thing if you go across, we have a lot of rivers around here, and I can buy, I'm not a specialist in this field, it's my interest only, I take a lot of interest in this nature and in the man. I'm a meditator myself, and I can pretty well relate to what you are saying over here. But there is terrible degradation, and we seem to be very, very happy by creating some virtual kind of world, including we are in the tribal museum yesterday, where I saw, they have done a very good job, but a couple of things were really not real, including the slab stones at some places perhaps you mightn't have marked. So this is very dangerous actually. What you have talked is very, very relevant, and we seem to be pretty contented with, whatever number or trying to quantify. And coming back to Chandravan, what he said, this is our struggle over here. We have been trying to involve our students in, being closer to nature. We find it very difficult, and all of us have to come together. And I think the digital world can take a lot of, it can provide us with information, with educative programs and things like that. Thank you.
yeah, in Thailand, 100 years ago there were over 100,000 elephants. Now there are only 2,000 elephants left, and so, and yes.
Where do you fit in mindful communication in this whole scenario? Because from the very beginning, Buddhism propagates the idea of mindful communication.
Right,
And that these are the nature human beings.
right. Well, mindfulness is a virtue in Buddhism. So, in order to attain mindfulness, you have to practice self cultivation. And so, mindfulness as a virtue that needs to be developed, and when it is developed, when it has been developed, then we can apply that virtue to our relationship with the other. And when we say the other, it's either people, or in this case, we can also apply it to the natural environment.
That's what I'm saying. But if that is their philosophical view, how do you explain that they are alienated from nature? Because
I don't quite understand.
how do you then explain how much Buddhists are alienated
and that is the problem, because this is religion of the books, religion based on the books, based on theories, and we can apply the same problem to Christianity and to Islam. And how a religion is, and how a founder of a religion teaches, and how we apply in our life, or how we act based on influences. Because in Buddhist cultures, there's just as much or even more degradation of nature than non-Buddhist societies. So this is the problem of this disconnect between religion and actual life. And part of the reason, part of the fault, I think, is because of the religion itself. Because while scientists or social scientists recognized the problem of environmental crisis many decades ago, only recently has religion gotten involved and tried to go back to its traditions and explore in order to see where in its tradition, where in its scriptures, there are things that are supportive of environmental protection and sustainability. So religions have been very late in the game in getting into this environmental efforts, and that's why, yes.
It is more to do with Jainism. When you were reading out when you were talking about environmentalism, that is nature, and Buddhism, I'll just like to cite one of the examples, the live example in Ahmedabad. We have a Gurukulam there. It's been running for the past 18 years, and they have got a boys' school as well as girls' school, wherein these kids are not exposed to any of the technologies. They are there in the nature, they are taught with the nature, and since Buddhism and Jainism is very much relatable, they are taught not only about the regular curriculum that we have in the schools, but even they are taught about how religiously the scriptures, what they tell us to do, how it is important for us to follow. So I think so if you get a time, you should visit that website, and if you get the time, you should visit the place as well. You'll get to know how without technology, the religion is, it's not only the religion, the people have awoken and tried to propagate how nature is important to us. And they have done it within the city.
Okay. I do not know. He is the right man to correct me. Mindfulness is being interpreted in so many ways. Yes. To give you one anecdote, an American somewhere I read, just I don't know, it has a he went to a Zen school, I believe, and he said, he asked the monk, "What are you doing here? What do you teach here?" He said, "We eat, we walk, we go to the nature, and that's all that we do over here." And that is to say that mindfulness would mean you stay connected. And there is a tradition of meditation. And if I can dare say that, I am a student of comparative meditations, and we teach meditations in this campus. Mindfulness is the result of first getting detached from the prejudice that we have. We seem to have been detached from our own selves in a way. And therefore it is necessary, when in meditation we meditate on neutrality, hopefully we clear out a lot of clutters around us. And that practice makes us more being now and here, without a judgment. In the process, you develop sensitivity and you stay connected. You see, the same thing happens with all of us. We go around and we find degradation in the environment. Many of us notice, many of us don't. So, in a way, the Buddhist tradition promotes not promotes really. It is in the culture is a part of self-development, that you meditation therefore is a part of the life of a Buddhist. And coming to the Buddhist monks, they are of course their training is as teachers. You please correct me if I am wrong about it. So I would say that it's very, very important that if we remain mindful or we develop that faculty of mindfulness, we would hopefully be more connected to the nature and to what is happening right here and now, and perhaps help to protect our ecology and environment. I don't know if I have answered your question to some
The
extent.
issue at hand is, as I understand, how close the Buddhists are in the nature to maintain sustainability of environment.
I read the life of Dalai Lama, and he is very progressive, and he always has been inviting technology, taking help of technology. There was a time when there was a dam being built when he was very young, and people were not willing to work and dig because there are worms. So there was a German who had escaped from a jail. There's a film made on him, actually. And he went and said, look, your people are not allowing us to work because the worms, they said, no, let the thing take time, but don't destroy the worms. So what I'm trying to tell you is that, and the same Dalai Lama, of course, has been inviting technology, taking help of the digital knowledge that we have. So I don't think there is any dichotomy between the two. Being mindful would mean that how much of technology do I use? And as you said very rightly, how much virtual world we will create to educate our children. At the same time, as you said, how much we can do to take the children to the real nature, take them for the nature walk to whatever, allow them. And Gandhi, in fact, did it in our country. Is exactly what he
Can
did.
I please intervene? I think we can take this
Yeah.
discussion because we have many
Quite a
more
few. Okay.
questions, and we can continue
Right.
this outside. May I now invite, Mr. Keval Kumar to make his presentation.
Good morning to one and all. Just starting with the presentation, but before that, I would like to really thank Binod Agarwal sir, Chandra Bhanu sir, and his power-packed intellectual family, and then of course Father Joseph and all the senior scholars around for giving me this opportunity. And thank you, and I also seek an anticipated bail for patience and also to go through my complete research that I'm going to present. So just starting with, to give you a broader introduction on what exactly I'm trying to look into. I'm simply trying to give you an understanding on iconographical study in India, which is specifically connected to Bharat Mata, the concept of Bharat Mata, who apparently was the Indian iconography who united the complete India during the freedom movement, the freedom movement from the British, and at the same time played a vital role in a lot of cultural zones of India in terms of unifying. One of the major challenges being visual being a common medium of communication which doesn't depend on a specific language, so that it was easy for people to unite from all the various linguistic states to put together. That was a fundamental reason. And the second thing that I'm going to connect from that Bharat Mata, which is already done by Sumati Ramaswamy, Duke, 2000, you can refer to the book. And further, what I'm going to really speak to you is a story that is been done for the first of the time. And that is regional daughters of Bharat Mata. That is, does Bharat Mata has daughters? Yes. Culturally, sure, they have been, Bharat Mata has have daughters, starting with Tamil Thai, again written by Sumati Ramaswamy in one of her book in detailed context, called the Faith of the Mother Tongue. And the next important mother goddesses as a daughter of Bharat Mata comes up with Kannada Thai Bhubaneswari, who is called the Kannada Mother Goddess. and then which belongs to Karnataka for unifying the state during the linguistic state formation movement. And then comes Malayalam Mata, which again takes up a literary source of inspiration to connect all the divided zones of the Keralite and Kerala zones, connecting the state of Kerala. In the parallel, there's also Jai Bhavani, the Shivji's Jai Bhavani, also connecting the Maratha and Marathwada communities together, and also Telugu Talli, who happens to be the mother goddess of Telugu-speaking community in Andhra Pradesh, with diverse, various multilinguistic complications within the state itself. And now apparently, after the split of the state, the Tamil Telly apparently is twin Telly, twin mother Telly. So there is similar iconographical representations in the south of India, which is directly connected to Mother Goddess. So Bharat Mata apparently has been referred to as the mother of all these mother goddesses from all of the states. So with this, I would like to take this as a platform and give you a little bit of historical context to this, and then try to understand what I'm trying to really put down in this study. Largely, of course, on what is its role in the state, and what did it do finally, and what was the complete translation in terms of its socio-cultural, religious aspect, and then finally, what is its role today in terms of the digital age. And we are talking about digital age here, and this particular goddess has got lots to do with the Silicon Valley of India, the Bangalore. And the context of the Silicon Valley and this digital age context is very much on a higher tussle in this process of coexistence of this iconography in terms of the linguistic survival. So we are going to go a little further into it by trying to understand. And before that, if you could just scroll to the page number 2, the first paragraph. I wanted to actually, if we had internet, wanted to show you the Shirdi Sai website, directly showing you the live relay of Shirdi, to just give you an idea of the glimpse of direct, what do you mean with the concept of darshan and online darshan as such, and digital darshan and direct darshan in its virtual and realistic context, how does it vary? And the way how it would change your appearances in trying to look at it. So darshan as such, as Diana Eck, 1981, has already spoken about the concept of being touched and the presence, and then which later has been picked up by Christopher Penny in the visual anthropological studies on these particular lines, has further gone into and then referred to this particular context in India even before. Sandria has suggested that in India it was religion and political procession that carved out the public space in colonial India. I think one of the best example would be Indira Gandhi's one of the image, if you can think of in the historical context, where she was assassinated, and the next immediate political campaign came out with the image of Indira Gandhi bleeding, and then मैं देश के लिए खून दिया हूँ, मैं अपने देश के लिए I've dedicated my life to the country, what are you going to give back to? You know, this kind of a context in various catchy lines and things like that. And Nargis also, during the time of election at that particular point of time, also says that how much importance does these political visuals play in the context of the Indian media. And with this particular essence, I would like to also touch upon few important things, which is the image of Obama in terms of the Hope poster, the very famous Hope poster, and at the very same time, in this very same context, on how Narendra Modi also played his visual theatrics in the political agenda in the elections, using this visual as a very prominent image. In this very same context, I would also say that Sonia Gandhi, there's a temple on Sonia Gandhi in Karimnagar, now in Telangana, and a temple of the Shivling with that of Narendra Modi out Kaushambi in Uttar Pradesh. While there are very lot of temples which is even based on MGR and which is based on various other goddesses, but you are also very aware of the fact that Jayalalitha also at one point of time tried to replicate her image in close contrast to that of Mother Mary as a visual political agenda, which Jacob Preminda also has worked on. So just coming in directly into my point on how this would be, to give you a small historical context on what is the role of this particular mother goddess in Karnataka. So this goddess is actually one of the visual popular identity and an iconography which started during the post-Indian independence scenario, during the time when Gandhi came down and said that let all the linguistic provinces start first unifying itself to claim for the territorial distribution and then further fix the boundaries of the state and then finally look into the further affairs. So at this particular point of time, along with the National Congress movement, the identity making the identity making process began, and one of the very foremost people who worked on to making this state formation movement literally started using this particular iconography. And this particular iconography, I'm going to show you the visuals as well, but this particular iconography started itself from the state formation movement to all the way to today's context. So this iconography also has various stages and various evolution which has gone on to the process of time. And the first and the foremost important thing is it derived from the religious context, of course. And it's started with one of the very important temple called Hampi, which in Nagar Empire, the UNESCO World Site. And from that particular temple, a temple called Virupaksha Temple. And right into Virupaksha Temple, towards the right of your side, would be one small structure called the Bhubaneswari. Bhuvana means earth, Ishwari means the goddess, so the Bhubaneswari. So this particular context was taken directly by this the front leading leaders, and then used that as an inspiration to unite all the various Kannada speaking linguistic caste-based communities together and then pulled in for this particular moment. And let me also tell you that in Karnataka itself we have around 5 languages, not just Kannada. The font, the dialects may be the same, but the way how they are pronounced and used is different. For example, Tulu, Biari, and then Havyaka, and so on and so forth. So we have not just one language, 5 languages within one state, and this is more or less the same situation with a lot of other states as well. So unifying these respective provinces and then getting them all together into the state formation movement, and finally getting the state as the state of Mysore initially in 1971, and then further renaming it as the state of Karnataka, and then further escalating it into a new democratic situation. So this goddess initially played this role of unifying, and then later she picks up almost by 1980s and 90s, the first ever the conflict that Karnataka have with Tamil Nadu, which is the Kaveri River water sharing crisis. And during every crisis such as these, this particular icon comes right in front. And then could you please go down to page number 6. So you'll get a perfect idea on the popular visual appearances of this particular goddess. Yeah, this is a goddess. So this goddess later plays this very important role, and the political churning also uses these particular sentimental, emotional ideas to play and present its concern of the state in various manner. So this image becomes very important in terms of its social applicability, up to such an extent that the whole of the public domain, as what we can call, started employing and using this visual iconography in every context that's possible. One of such contexts I can probably say is recently when the Supreme Court again ordered Karnataka to release the water in the borders of Hosur and Karnataka, in the place called Hosur. All the buses which came from Tamil Nadu was stalled 1 kilometer before itself, and all the Kannada buses which was already trapped in Tamil Nadu was not let inside. But there are some buses and some cars who use the sticker of this particular Thai Bhubaneswari or Rajkumar, who is the person who is drawing the chariot, who is also an Itani, who is an ideal star of Kannada. Matinee star of Kannada, who is more or less considered more like an MGR in Kannada context. So those cars and those vehicles would not be touched. It's almost like what Shiv Sena flag that we can use in Maratha. And Marathwada, you use that flag and go. None of the tolls also will even ask you to pay the money. So that's more or less the sort of open license symbol that you give. Yeah, I am so and so. More or less like the MLA and MP kind of flags. So this is the impact at which it creates on a local level. And this image has been used in various extent in the social, cultural, religious zone. One of other very good evidence of this usage that I can give is every year on November 1, which was the state formation day, in the complete part of Karnataka, all the government offices are closed down, and they literally put the image of this particular mother goddess and do a particular devotional appreciation and sing the songs of patriotism, the Kannada patriotism, and also the state anthem, and with various aspects of such kind of religious symbolisms. So they even take her on a procession on various pockets of city, especially Bangalore. And this became more intense right after the globalization part of it, when the IT booming hit on a very strong scale, because the migrated community became huge. And when the migration come, obviously the insecurity of the people and the anxiety of the people, which results in the existence and the fight for existence come up, the Kannada language itself started feeling a threat of being extinct. So at that point of time, again, this iconography came into the public domain and started talking about it. There was one particular Gokak Chalavali, the Gokak moment, which I'm sure even Chandra sir know. This particular moment was the time when the Kannada language by itself was at the highest point of threat, because the central government first imposed Hindi, and then later Sanskrit, and then later English through the English medium and local medium schools. So for all this three level phases, the protest went on by saying that no, let's keep Kannada as a first language, or let's use the mother tongue as a first language to try to preserve it. Otherwise, the usage of it is going to deteriorate, and finally we are going to lose it. So on this particular process, this Gokak report came across, and the person named Gokak himself came onto the street and then started making a huge campaign. This campaign was not effective unless this matinee star, who always comes in a patriotic role, playing characters in all the films of Kannada, apparently more or less in the very same sense like how MTR and MGR comes in all the Telugu and Tamil films. So in the very same context, this person who has represented himself in the films as the most patriotic person to the motherland, like Bhagat Singh films, in Hindi. In that very same context, this person becomes the next important idol of the state, and he is being implemented as a son of this mother goddess. So there's a real and virtual, both in real. So it is a physical, metaphysical kind of a theory which goes on, and apparently it's accepted, and the larger public flows in huge crowd gatherings in all of these venues, and then makes a huge appeal to the state assembly to enforce this particular idea, to bring Kannada as one of the major language, to make sure that it doesn't die. So that is one of the contexts. Kaveri river water crisis is an ongoing context, and that has always landed up with one or other serious consequences. And along with this was various other internal problems as well. For example, the community problems, the Gowda versus the Reddy, the caste politics problems that always come. And apparently Devegowda's son, every time when he goes to a political campaign, he refers to himself as the son of this mother goddess. So you can see how politically, culturally, geographically, all these are interconnected and intertext in its own level, and the way how it plays such an important role. So this is the final the final aspect. I mean the major background to the whole text that I'm presenting here. Now, if you could just go back one page back, page number 5, yeah. So this is a parallel that I would like to draw from the national to the local. Could you go a little more up? This, of course, everyone know that the Abhindranath Tagore's first painting of Bharat Mata, the virginal ascetic representation, quite widely accepted by all the lead intellectuals at that particular point of time, along with the Tagorean idea of nationalism. And then further, if you could now scroll a little down to show this image. This is Rahe Azadi, one of the posters, March to Independence, which talks a little upwards. Yeah. So in this, it's very clearly seen that it's Gandhi who's the chariot, bearer, and it is he who is literally drawing the chariot of Bharat Mata. And then you see the flag bearer is Nehru here, and then you see Subhash Chandra Bose, doing the security of the procession, and in the background, the black and whitish kind of parliament, which is coming out into from the dark ages of British to the light ages of, so this kind of an enunciation process which comes in a visual, metaphorical symbolisms. So you can see all the people who have already given their life in the top, blessing the whole enunciation of the chariot. Now with this, if you look at this particular image, can you go to the next page now? Yeah. So here is a direct parallel drawn from the national to the local. So here the chariot rower is not Gandhi, but the Gandhi of Karnataka, who is Rajkumar himself. So he becomes that one icon of the regional representation who takes up the next lead as a live and flesh kind of a embodiment of Bharat Mata. So you see this whole enunciation process in the way how these images come out in the visual cultural genre is political, cultural and religious in its own nature. And look at the Bharat Mata there, I mean the Kannada Mata. She is purely a Shaivate based kind of Raja Rajeshwari kind of representation. She's not Saraswati, she's not Lakshmi, she's not Parvati either, but she's the as it goes with the context of Devi Mahatmyam, the Raja Rajeshwari symbolism is what usually is given to her as the queen and the mother goddess. She's both queen and mother goddess. That's the Raja Rajeshwari concept of Devi Mahatmyam. So with this particular context, I think also another very important thing is the flag. In Indian Constitution, the only state that is given the freedom to use a separate flag is Jammu and Kashmir. But here, outright, in a very clear context, after the the flag of Tamil, the Tamil identity comes into the major picture. Kannada picks up this particular flag immediately to the response of those particular conflict that happens on Kannada versus Tamil kind of problems. So, and uses this particular flag, which is Haldi and Kumkum, the very same nature, but again related to the goddess representation in symbolic, ritualistic terms. Now, the map of Karnataka is clearly there on the flag. And you also see the chariot, which is actually the replica of the sun temple of the Hampi, UNESCO site. And there is a sun chariot of sun temple. That exact chariot is converted here as a chariot by itself. So which has become a tourist symbol of Karnataka actually. So talking about the heritage and the pride and the context of history, considering those, this is a sort of a fusion of the past and the present together in this diverse approach of getting the people together using this vernacular identity. So from this, I would like to go into the context on how this is further much more inspired from that Hampi temple itself. Could you please come to page number 8? Yeah, this the one that you see in the background is actually the Hampi Virupaksha temple entrance, and then towards the left is the Ganesh, the incomplete Ganesh image, which is already carved out there, Kadle Kalu Ganesh, as it's called. And look at the Vaishnavite representation. So there was one point of time a very deliberate approach of trying to make it Lingayat oriented, Shaivates kind of a thing. But then later, when the Mysore Maharaja entered, he also repositioned it as a Raja Rajeshwari, because it's Durga that Mysore Empire always depends on. So there are various texts in which both of the parties have contributed towards, and initially there is a debate, strong cultural debate between North Karnataka and South Karnataka in all its contexts, because North Karnataka always said that they were deprived of anything and everything because South Karnataka was completely given all the grants by the British at that particular point of time, and they had all the facilities given because of the Mysore Maharaja himself, and the North Karnataka apparently didn't have anything as such, and then that was an ongoing debate all the time. And using this symbolism, they actually reconnected the complete divide at that particular point of time of unification. But finally, coming to the digital and the goddess part of it, the few very important things that we need to really, that I would like to really bring up here is, one is the territorial representation on how these images really work, and the territoriality context of this plays a very important role even in the online context. Now earlier there was clearly this flags of this particular mother goddess represented all around Karnataka. almost in the very same way how US represented their flag all across their state and borders after the 9/11 attack. So this was more or less like, kind of a reassurance of the patriotism and also a reminding of the sense that this territory belongs to us, in one sense or another. So the assertion of the identity also becomes very important in this context. So with this. On the physical plane of debate, it also translates in the online debate. For example, in Facebook itself, much of the people who are aware of the Kannada context here, I'm very sure they would have definitely gone through this particular site called Ganchali Bidi Kannada Matadi. It's a typical kind of language which says that give up your attitude of being superior and learn the language of local Kannada if you want to be in Karnataka. So this is the Facebook page that it goes on with, and this page has been quite very effective all the way from from 2005, 2006, 2007 onwards, and there are lot of people, Kannada activism and Kannada activist groups, various groups who are also playing a huge role even on the online space, trying to capture the online presence of Kannada chauvinism rather than patriotism in a larger sense. So the chauvinism part of it, there are various victimization process also. There are a lot of people who have been victim to these particular situation, but since I don't have time to go through all that, I'm just speaking only on the limiting it myself to the online space as such. So this is translating itself into a new space of debate, and it's again creating a larger context of identity issues, anxieties, and the confusion that is created over there. So on a larger run, yes, if this icon has really helped in a various contexts of unifying and also bringing a larger sense of identity and assertion of identity and expression of various concerns of the local through this particular features, yes, it has also created quite a lot of other consequential reactions, such as intense sense of patriotism and somehow landing that into a certain sense of chauvinism as well. So there is such kind of issues, and also the debate between the migrants versus localites, which is happening in Bangalore in a very serious context, and Infosys was itself the first immediate victim to it, and Narayan Murthy himself came out when one of the Kannada Sahitya Sammelana, and then said that if people who can't speak English expect to be working in it, then they let them stop dreaming about it. So English is a very important language, and if they can't learn it, we can't simply give you the job on the basis on merit or on basis on any other reservations because you are a localite. So which is actually contradicting the law which was recently passed in the Sarojini Varadi, in the report of Sarojini Varadi. So these are the larger texts at which this is now escalating onto the online platform, and then further taking its own evolution and the space towards it. So like how it used to happen in the real sense of bringing this particular chariot into the public domain, now this very same sense is happening in the online domain. So various on November 1, there is so much of online functions and activities which is going on in terms of Skype, meetings and so on and so forth. So it's interesting to look at the way how it is further moving across, and I'm closely observing and trying to see where it's going and landing up. And what I'm presenting here is only one small aspect of this, which is the religious and the online space aspect of it. It's actually quite a little, largely broad, but I'm limiting myself only into these areas. So I think that I would conclude it with that. Thank you. Yes, in fact, that's one idea that I wanted to speak, but thanks for the question. Yes, there is initial large contest that happened at one particular point of time. How to involve and make it inclusive? Is it inclusive or exclusive? This is the largest state of debate that I'm putting through. But the question really is, if we have taken it from the Hindu religious iconography and inspired it from such sense, then how are we talking about the larger unification process where the minority of Jain, minority of Muslim, minority of the Christian, and minority of the Buddhist, and also some portion of atheist. So how do we really make it inclusive if they are not really able to accept it? All this while we never had any serious problem, but lately, after Yedurappa came up into the picture. This became a very serious religious contradiction, and Muslim society itself came across saying that we can't accept anything which is iconographical or image oriented because we don't believe in that. So how can we accept a mother goddess? So then there was a cross context. Then, do you really believe in Bharat Mata? Then she said. Then the Muslim society said, no, we don't believe in the image of Bharat Mata, but we believe in India being Bharat Mata. So there was the further escalation of this later, which went on in a different direction, saying that no, we believe in the Tagorean idea of iconography, not in the not in the iconography of Hindu representation, and the debate is still going on. So we do have that problem, but largely till this 1990s. Whenever this procession used to happen, it was a mixed community procession. It was not a pure Brahminical or caste-oriented or strictly Hindu-oriented processions. Because till then, everyone were very desperate to make sure that the problems are addressed, and the medium of the problem, how it is addressed, need to have a strong base and identity. So everyone knew that, and they came up together for the cause of language. So language united it, actually speaking, through this iconography. There is again among Muslims, there is various pockets of Muslims. Some Muslims who are liberal Muslims of Bangalore do accept, but there's one side of Muslims who is Jafar Sharif oriented MLA and the coordination who doesn't agree to it. But it's simply the fact that they're playing on the political churn on who is ruling and who is favoring. So if it is a Congress who's sitting, they agree. But if it is BJP, they disagree. So it goes on a political plane on those areas as well. But I do agree that the Mysore, especially Mysore, has a small pocket of hardcore Muslim population under the of course because of the Tipu Sultan and the influences that has come into those pockets. They are trying to look at Tipu Sultan as an image of Kannada patriotism, which was again contested by Rani Chennamma. So Rani Chennamma became another important public image, and she rose all the way. Suddenly, within few years, we could see huge, sculptures all around Karnataka with Rani Chennamma, more on the style of Rani Lakshmi Bai, but not as Rani Chennamma herself. Rani Chennamma never used a horse as such, but she was used like Rani Lakshmi Bai. So there is such kind of an iconographical rift that is always going on, and in the process of debate. Recently, when Tipu Sultan, in fact, Girish Karnad came up with huge debate last time, and it became a huge mess in Karnataka in various pockets, and there was some criminal activity reports as well. And the protest went in a very nasty situation when recently when a new CM came into the position and said that Tipu Sultan should also, that the day of Tipu Sultan death should be celebrated as one of the important marking day, because it's a loss for the nation. So of course the RSS and the BJP and the various other such Kannada activism groups, there are various strong groups, and some groups are so strong that there's no other real estate thugs who can even withhold them. So those groups also went against this, and it became a huge mess. So
what is the religious significance in a multi-religious India vis-a-vis digital media?
Yes.
And how it is influencing? Because I do know from my own studies in Karnataka, there are Muslims who do not speak Kannada.
Yeah.
They cannot write
They
Kannada.
cannot, yeah.
They cannot read Kannada.
Yeah.
I had hired several Muslims to work with me, and they came back and said, "We can't read Kannada questionnaire. Please write in Urdu."
in Urdu, yeah.
So it is a multi-religious, multilingual country. If it is only a political end to meet, is one point. Second point, which is where we are stuck here in this room, how does it affect religious systems, and how does it fit into current day digital media?
Yes.
Influence digital media.
Yes.
Are influenced by digital media.
Yes. The religious part of it, actually speaking, it is state itself has acknowledged it in its own sense, and as I told you, on November 1 every year, the state itself celebrate it officially as the Kannada Rajotsava Day, and on which Chief Minister himself unveils the flag, including the Kannada flag, and also dedicate all the programs on the name of this mother goddess. So religious significance is quite strong, but it's not necessarily holding it to be.
Significance and political significance.
Yes. To draw a line in between, it's a little difficult because there's a gray zone here. Because it is conveniently used as religious in some end, it's conveniently used as political at some end. So this complication is very, very difficult. I mean, like the path of how do you define religion, whether it's, can we put it scientific or can we put it emotional. So very same way we have this problem here. But at the same time, the religious significance is quite strong in certain pockets. They don't let it go as a political image. For example,
the religious significance is not divorced from the political in this country in any place. So the religious is political, and political is religious in every respect. So we cannot actually draw clear-cut lines.
Clear line there.
It's,
Yes. In fact, the Maharaja of Mysore, after the unification process, when the state was declared in 1955, he installed a goddess in his own palace, calling it Thai Bhubaneswar of Karnataka, and that is every day devoted like any other Rajarajeshwari temple, typically in a Hindu fashion. And there's all religious applications applied on that particular temple, and that is equally given the significance of the Durga goddess of Mysore. The very same way how the Durga is taken all over Mysore, she is also considered as the mother goddess. So there is a close religious, strong binding coming along with it.
no, the mother goddess in this country. I mean, almost every day we create one mother goddess. So, or many. You see, the thing is, look at the great example of what was that goddess that came out of a film? Santoshima. Santoshima is a complete creation of one
Popular
film,
media,
of one film.
Just wait for a couple of months.
Yeah.
We'll create a new goddess in Tamil Nadu.
Yes.
Oh,
And
yeah, it's already happening.
We have already. There is a film actress. Yeah, Eight Zama is I have written about it. So there's Eight Zama is a classic example. There is also Khushbu, the film actress who has a temple.
She has 3 to 4 temples there, and Khushbu, an actress girl.
Yeah.
Khushbu.
So anyway, Father.
Yeah, thank you very much for your presentation.
So.
But for non-Indians, it's almost impossible to follow.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand. Yeah.
General way.
Yeah.
You remind us, and I'm very grateful for that, you remind us of the role of image communication in religion.
Yes, religious.
In general,
yes,
no?
yes.
You explained for India. But we have that also in Christianity. For example, you have in Reichenau, there is a church from 1000 with illustrations of the parables of Jesus Christ. And then some of these things are called the Bible for the poor, who could not read text, but they could understand pictures. So that is one thing. And if I try to generalize it a little bit, so what is the role of image communication, and with the modern images are much more important than text now, in a way. But what is it? So what is the role of images as communication in religion? So I'm not sure, but for example, for me, it's a unifying thing. Images unify. See, they simplify. See, and then also they develop and trigger emotions. And also they also teaching. See, also your images, they teach.
All of this applies to that as well.
No? So I think that would be the broader perspective in this field. And I would feel that is something we should follow. And also for a broader audience, but for India, fine. But if you could, for example, from in this perspective, take the Indian situation, simplify it. This is India, but other countries as well. So that would be quite a contribution. So that's one. But then also the question is, what makes an image so attractive.
Yeah.
See, it is simplifying teaching, religious experience, what makes it so attractive, no?
Yes, yes.
See, and then it's also related to concrete, popular, what we would call in Christianity, popular piety.
Yes.
For example, the exhibit we opened
Yeah.
yesterday. So there's a statue, and the statue is every 12 years made new, something
Yes.
like that. So that is an image.
Yeah.
See, what is the role of image in this thing? So it will be very interesting field for studies. But
Yes,
then
yes.
I'm not sure if I can ask you to go beyond India.
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
yeah.
but just to trigger,
Yeah,
no? I
yeah,
mean, it's
yeah.
a
Yes,
very,
yes, yes,
it's
yes.
a kind of pointer, so I would see it
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
no?
yeah, yeah. Surely,
So I
sir.
mean, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
one
Yeah.
thing.
Father,
Very grateful for that.
Yeah, sir,
one
yeah.
thing, I think, just to look at it from the Asian perspective,
Yeah, yeah.
we can sort of classify and look at it in terms of, India and a lot of Asia
Yeah.
are actually oral cultures and visual cultures.
Visual cultures, yeah.
Okay, and I think there lies the difference.
Different major.
The major
Major
difference, because the visual culture, which is an emphasis in the oral traditions,
Yeah,
is not necessarily the visual that exists in what we would know as
Yeah, yeah.
literate cultures.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think that if you look at this whole thing within the perspective of visual culture,
Yeah,
you will probably have a much stronger.
yeah.
Even in Islam,
Yeah.
which is forbidden, has forbidden images
Yeah,
of
yeah,
any
yeah,
kind.
yeah, yeah.
Buddh-parasti,
Yeah,
as they call it, is
yeah.
not permissible. Makkah and Medina
Yeah,
picture
the pictures are heavily
are
used. Yeah.
distributed and used in houses in India at least.
Yeah.
Some which I visited, Bangladesh and Pakistan. So the
Yes.
point is that still Makkah and Medina
Yeah,
is
yeah.
displayed.
Yes.
And sir, the other thing is the visual culture is not necessarily visual in the sense that we look at it. It is, you see, the entire Quran is actually visual. It is otherwise it will never have gone across the world. Yes, it is
Yeah,
a
visual language.
visual language.
Please, that's in textual form,
Yeah.
not in terms of human figurines.
No, that's right. That is right.
That is where
But
it fundamentally differs.
that is right. But it is still, when we talk about visual culture, we cannot restrict ourselves to actual visuals.
Visuals
It
alone,
is also
because it's
the
beyond,
visual
yeah.
of,
It's far beyond
parable, the visual of speech. That is what makes it different. And I think that is the
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
perspective that we
yeah.
need to take on this. kind of-
Yeah.
Yesterday I come across with one video, one documentary in Malayalam, which shows, an animation of Joseph in Islam. In this conversation, Islam is understanding of Joseph and his relationship with Suleika. So they are using the possibility of animation for that purpose.
Yeah.
So here comes the point that perhaps many people in the religion might find it as quite offending to use a specific image of Joseph for this purpose. But again, it is in a form of extending the understanding of the beauty of Joseph. I mean, the beauty of Joseph is there are a lot of metaphors used in Islamic tradition to show the beauty of Joseph. But I mean, here the interesting stage is that now people are using the possibility of animation to give expression to these visual understandings.
Yeah, in fact, that is what I was getting at. This is the whole idea of visual culture. For example, when you take this thing literally, that you cannot have an image, what would Islam do with things like animation? That is not image in the true sense of the term.
Yeah.
What would Islam do, or any religion do with virtual images? They are not true representations.
Right.
So they are not representative images.
Right.
So then what do? We're stuck with a different kind of.
Our student did analyze social media of Iran. No image will ever appear, only text. whole PhD thesis done, all only text, no image of
Sir,
any
so
kind.
far, what I'm saying is that now animation is 3D animation, VFX. These are technologies that are becoming more and more not only important, but they're also becoming more accessible.
Yes.
That is when there will be great challenges to the whole idea of vision, the whole idea of representation. Then we.
Only time will tell what will happen.
That's right.
I cannot predict at this moment what
yes.
will happen. But I will say very clearly, it would be very difficult for Islamic scholars and Muslims to accept that.
There he is already
No,
saying that
actually,
it is there. So
it's available there.
Check who has done it,
Exactly, yeah.
who has done that derivation.
Mm.
All kinds of arguments and fights and political agenda are developed. But is it accepted by, or done by them? No.
So, sir, the interesting thing is that this is appeared in Malayalam language, which is a local language. So, I mean, interesting thing is that a local community is developing this, this form of expression.
Look,
Yeah.
first Bible was translated into
Yeah.
Malayalam 2000 years ago almost. 1900s. Where? In Kerala. Oh, I see. In Kerala. What evidence have you? I asked you.
There is no Malayalam Bible coming from 2000 years ago. There is no Bible.
All are oral tradition.
Oh, oral traditions. Okay.
There is no written tradition that you can argue.
No, I mean, casual statements of facts like that may not help for a good dialogue.
In 218.
Okay, fine. You please.
Okay, can we?
1 minute. He had a point. Mr. Patnaik had a point. 1 minute, please.
Stop at this point and move
Yes, I think we because we
No,
have.
sir
So I
has
think
something.
Patnaik sir has a,
Yeah, please.
yes, sir.
No, I merely wanted to say that when we are discussing, we are confining ourselves to one media or one particular aspect of the whole thing. I think that's unfair. While discussing about visual media, we should also talk about other things that go along with different aspects of culture. For example, let us take the Indian situation, where pilgrimage was one of the most important factors which was introduced. People could go all over the country, and wherever they went, they saw all the images, all the everything that you could see. Hindu, Buddhist, Islamic, or any number of things they could see. Because it is in the overall context of plurality that you should look at all these things. The Karnataka situation which he says, I would refer you to Kuvenpu,
Yeah,
who
good.
wrote
Yes, yes.
Bharata
Jananiya
Jananiya Tanujate
Jai He
Jayatu
Karnataka
Karnataka.
Mate. Yeah.
This has happened in every part,
Every part,
of the
yes,
country.
yes.
That you are Mother India, you are Mother the state. That's because at one time there was a movement. When there was a movement against Sanskrit, for example, when Sanskrit was called Deva Bhasa, it was called the language of the gods. Everywhere in the country there was a protest movement. The Marathi saint poet Eknath said, Sanskrit Bhasa debe ke liye tari prakrit ka chora pasunati. If Sanskrit is the language of gods, and the Prakrit is the language of thieves, Prakrit means the popular languages, which are different from Sanskrit. But you see, such kinds of things has happened from time to time. And in every part, there are also creation of this combination of things. In Odisha, there is a poet called Salabega. He is a Muslim who identified himself with the Jagannath
Yes.
and became a... So that kind of thing has happened in all parts of the country. It has happened in terms of... and what is interesting is when you go into these visual images, you find that very often some images are destroyed, new ones are created, and this religion has protested against that. So all kinds of things have happened. So what I would merely draw your attention to the fact that when we are talking about culture, we should keep in the background the overall cultures of the world and culture of an area and culture of a particular place, and see how different times efforts have been made to hold together all these cultures. There have been Christian, Muslim fights and movements that are going on all the time. But there has been not such great fight between Hindus and Christians. But there have been again areal differences and struggles. But the whole thing is we talk in terms of unification and diversity. If you look at it from that perspective, then many of the things will be clarified.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Can we now have Dr. Keval Kumar give the next presentation on Neo-Buddhism goes online, the digital revolution of India's oppressed Dalits.
Well, Navayana Buddhism or Neo-Buddhism would reject all images that were spoken about earlier by the earlier speaker. This is the ideal state to be in, the land of the Buddha, to talk about Navayana Buddhism. Buddha himself never visited Orissa, formerly known as Kalinga, but there are more than 200 Buddhist sites in this state alone. But Navayana Buddhism is a rejection not of other kinds of Buddhism around Asia, Thailand and Japan and so on, Vietnam, but it's a total rejection of Hinduism, especially the caste system. He is the founder of Neo-Buddhism, or Nava means new, Navayana Buddhism is Neo-Buddhism. Okay. This is Dr. Bhim Rao Ramji Ambedkar, the founder of Navayana Buddhism in 1956, when he took Dhamma Diksha, and with him, and he converted to Buddhism, I'll show you a clip of that, and with him about 1 million Dalits, or the untouchables of India, converted. This was in October 1956, just 2 months before Dr. Bhim Rao Ambedkar passed away. My study of Navayana Buddhism began with reading Ambedkar and his very interesting work. First of all, on the annihilation of caste, I began with that. Then I went on to read Ambedkar on the Buddha and his Dhamma. Note that he preferred to use the word Dhamma rather than Dharma, because his preference was for Pali rather than Sanskrit, the language of the Buddha, and much of the writing on Buddhism is in Pali. Could you go on to the next one? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. So I'm just raising a few simple questions, which I've tried to address mainly to non-Indians, because Indians are very familiar with who the Dalits are, who was Dr. Ambedkar. They're not so familiar with Navayana Buddhism and what it stands for and its various principles. But the chief question I'd like to raise is, have Dalits or Neo-Buddhists found their voice in digital space? And then I sum up with conclusions regarding the discourse of Navayana Buddhism vis-a-vis Hinduism. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I should.
Go ahead, go ahead, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah.
If
So
you want, if you
now, who are the Dalits of India? They were formerly called untouchables. They still are by many upper castes. But they themselves would like to be called Dalits. The word Dalit means in Sanskrit and also in Marathi and many other Indian languages, Dalit means crushed, broken to pieces. The legal term for them, the constitutional term for Dalits is the scheduled castes. Gandhi himself liked to call them Harijans, literally children of God. Dr. Ambedkar totally opposed this nomenclature because he found it very patronizing and insulting. And with him, of course, other Dalits reject this nomenclature. Dalits comprise almost 17% of our population. It is the largest minority, the poorest of the poor, and the most marginalized. Of course, in some recent commission reports, they said that the Muslims are worse off than the scheduled castes.
no, tribals.
Yeah. Scheduled castes and scheduled tribals, yes. Now compare this with the figure for Muslims. Muslims make up much less, 13.4%. Yeah. Christians 2.3%, Jains 0.01%, Sikhs and so on. Very small number. So even though they make up this huge minority next to the Hindus, they are almost invisible in the media. And to some extent also in the digital media. Now they have got into the digital media. The question often raised is, who are these Dalits? Are they the original inhabitants of India? Now, Max Miller and other Orientalists would say there was an Aryan invasion and that the Aryans were the outsiders who came in and occupied especially North India. Ambedkar himself dismissed such an Orientalist interpretation of history. For him, the Dalits are as Indian as any others. If you read one of the biggest names in Dalit discussions today is Kancha Elaya from Hyderabad, professor of political science. He subscribes to the Aryan invasion and he tries to persuade us and his followers that the original inhabitants, the aboriginals of India, were the Dalits. Dalits are victims of the largest number of crimes in the country. Okay. According to latest figures, 2014 figures from the Crime Bureau, more than 47,000 crimes are committed against Dalits every year. More than 1,500 Dalit women are raped. This is a daily practice, not much reported in the mainstream media. Occasionally you have, especially when there are uprisings as there are now, the whole, as recently in Gujarat, there was the incident at Una where Dalits were beaten, dragged with using a vehicle, and then of course that action of the upper castes molesting the Dalits, who were, what were they doing? They were just skinning a cow. This video, shot by the attackers themselves, was put on YouTube and went viral, and the result was a large-scale protests of Dalits in Gujarat and across the country. And they refused then to carry carcasses, they refused to skin cows for several months together. The Dalits, incidentally, are the scavengers of the country. They are the ones who clean the toilets of the country. Yeah. Then next, who was Ambedkar? For most of us Indians, we know him as the father of India's constitution. But he was, I would say, one of India's foremost intellectuals. He had PhDs in economics and sociology. He was a law expert. He also he was a prolific writer. He wrote more than 52 books and papers. Now, for many years, his publications were unavailable, except in 15 volumes published in the 60s or so by the Maharashtra government. But now, luckily for us, all the works are available online in drambedkarbooks.org. And that's where I was able to access all of his writings. So his Annihilation of Caste, Buddha and his Dhamma, and the third work I forgot to mention that I referred to was his brilliant piece on the Buddha or Karl Marx. This also, like his Dhamma, was published posthumously. He founded a political party called the Republican Party of India, and his grandkids are, though of course a lot of controversy about RPI, how it is, especially its support of the BJP at the moment. To conclude then, words about Ambedkar, he was really the foremost leader and a revolutionary leader of the Dalits of India. He and Mahatma Gandhi clashed very often, both at the London roundtables and also in terms of politics, in terms of electoral votes and so on. Dr. Ambedkar himself wanted electoral votes for Dalits, but Mahatma Gandhi went on fast. This was a major conflict between them, and then, in order to break his fast, Ambedkar withdrew his demand. And this was called the Pune Pact, where he said that Dalits would have quotas, reservations, but would not have, would be like other voters of the country. Okay. Yeah. Now, what was the kind of Buddhism, the strand of Buddhism that Buddha supported and propagated? Now, there are different strands of Buddhism, I mentioned them, but he wanted his own vision of Buddhism. And he wanted to use this vision of Buddhism to talk about an ideal Indian society, a society in which there was liberty, equality, and fraternity. For him, and these tenets, these three tenets of democracy, and he was a total democrat at heart and a secularist at heart, these three tenets were the key issues for him in Indian democracy, in an Indian secular democracy. And of these three, the most important was fraternity. We use the Indian word karuna, and also another word maitri, which is equivalent to the Christian kind of fellowship and friendship. Maybe you could see a clip if it works. Just could you click on that? No. Could you click on that YouTube video? This will give you an idea. This is a short 8-minute clip which gives an idea of if it works. I will keep it for the end.
Yeah, I think you should
Okay,
just keep
right.
it to the end. Thou.
Yeah. Okay, we'll keep for the end maybe. We'll keep for the end.
Yeah.
So what are the various religions that Dalits in India follow? Primarily, they are still largely Hindu, 38% of them. I've not given that figure. But almost a third of them have converted to Buddhism. Every year, on the occasion, on the anniversary of the October 6th conversion of Ambedkar, thousands convert to Buddhism. But this news is hardly reported. It's not convenient to the powers that be. 21% have converted to Sikhism, 9% to Christianity. Okay. Though it's a pretty large number that have converted to Christianity, but quite a few. Recently, there was a CBCI publication running to 45 pages regarding how Dalits in Christianity are discriminated against in terms of places of worship, in terms of places of burial. Okay. Yes, let's go on the next one.
Next.
We'll come to the video later. So what is Navayana Buddhism? What are its basic principles? It is not orthodox traditional Buddhism found anywhere. It is Ambedkar's own unique and distinct interpretation of Buddhism. Buddhism for liberation of the Dalits. Buddhism as a total rejection of all that Hinduism stands for, especially its caste system. Also, it's a rejection of Ishwar, a rejection of karma, and other rejection of transmigration of souls and other basic doctrines of Hinduism. It's a doctrine, in other words, of social transformation, not a religion in the conventional sense. It's a mobilization technique for the Dalits. It's a religious revolution, a social reform movement which redressed inequality and gender relations. Okay. If you move on to Navayana Buddhism as available online, well, there's a significant presence online of this type of Buddhism. Often there's overlap between Dalits, websites on Dalits and websites on Neo-Buddhism. Okay. But they are interchangeable. Okay. So Google search will use so many results. Also, very interesting videos, more than 2,000 of them are available on YouTube. And there's one YouTube channel called Dalit Camera, which is totally dedicated to the plight and the problems of India's Dalits. And it doesn't get too many views, but still it is available. Yeah. These are some of the main organizations which all have their websites, blogs, Twitter, and Facebook presence. The first is IDSN, based in Copenhagen, which brings the Dalit organization of the world together and to lobby for Dalit issues on a global stage. And that is why now there are the EU, the United Nations, the US Congress, they are all aware of the Dalit question in India, and they are well informed about it because of the lobbying of these various organizations online. Then there's Dalit Freedom Network, which is a large which is an evangelical Christian organization, but with branches in major countries. They do a lot of charity work. They support NGOs in India. Of course, some of these NGOs have got into trouble now with the present government. Then there's in Chennai there are two very interesting websites. Both are bilingual. One is called Dalit Media Network, the other is called People's Watch, and they are like news aggregators. They provide a forum where Dalits can discuss, Dalits can first of all become aware of what's happening to their fellows all across the country, and also to lobby for their cause. Then there is, of course, a national campaign for human rights, a coalition of 78 Dalit activists doing excellent work. Yeah. What is interesting is my observation, as I surfed through all these sites, there was little or no advertising on them. Okay. Okay. Finally, I think I just talk a little about Gar Vapsi. Often it is widely believed that Gar Vapsi is aimed at Christians. Gar Vapsi is a mission by the family of Hindu fundamentalists called Sangh Parivar to persuade Christians, Muslims, Buddhists to come back home. Gar means home or house, and Vapsi is to return. So kind of a homecoming. This Gar Vapsi mission or campaign is aimed not primarily at Christians or Muslims, but rather at Dalits who have become Christians or Muslims, and especially those who have become Buddhists. There are many attempts now by political parties, and especially by the present ruling government, to appropriate Ambedkar. But Ambedkar would certainly not have liked this. Okay. And finally, the final slide. This revolution brought about by Dalits has been brought about by mainly university students. There's a huge student movement which is not widely reported except occasionally, doesn't make much headlines. The student movement across the country led by Dalit organizations in Chennai, in Hyderabad, in JNU, in Pune at FTI, and Gujarat, and so on. This is the movement, the silent movement but steady movement, which is making tremendous strides across the country, but which still remains largely acknowledged. And this is led by Dalit neo-Buddhist students. One concern of mine as I surfed through all these sites was how many Dalits have access to the internet. Now, because of their poverty figures, and a good chunk of them remain the poorest of the poor, I would say that while the Dalits and the neo-Buddhists have a large, significant presence online, the access for the Dalits themselves may not be so great. I think I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Like to have the video?
Any questions? Oh.
You like to have the video?
Brother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long is it? 8 minutes. Yeah. Can you put it on? Where Ambedkar takes Dhamma Diksha in the presence of Buddhist monks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't hear you.
You have spoken on Dalits.
Yes.
Would this Dalit movement and Navayana, are they synonymous?
They're almost synonymous, I would say, because you see, only Dalits have been converted to have been following Navayana Buddhism. No other groups, and that's only the Dalits of India.
Yeah, Buddhism stands on certain ethics. And what are the ethics of Navayana? Do they correspond to the Eightfold Path of the Buddhism?
They correspond to the 5 precepts, basically.
May I?
Yeah, here see, in his Dhamma, which is totally based on the life and the teachings of the Buddha. So, basic precepts of Buddhism, basic practice of Buddhism, he has accepted. But he has turned them around in order to open up Buddhism to being acceptable to the Dalits and to the Dalit cause of liberation.
Okay, my third point is, you said that is an annual conversion. The people who get converted into Navayana,
Yes.
do they understand these precepts?
Well,
It is, I can well understand.
That's the case in every religion.
Yeah.
When people convert to Christianity or other religions, then there are rituals to be followed.
Buddha too didn't believe in God.
Yes.
So also Ambedkar didn't believe in God. That's
no,
fine.
total rejection of God, of Kishwar, of karma.
There is an element, strong element of compassion and forgiveness
Yes.
in Buddhism.
Yeah.
I do not know Navayana.
Yeah.
How much does it? I mean,
No, for
maybe
him,
embracing.
I
but
already mentioned that for him, Karuna, Maitri are absolutely fundamental to his kind of Buddhism.
I understand that, just in the previous discussion we were discussing about
And
this
Karuna is
mindfulness. We are discussing about the mindfulness.
Can
We can carry
Yeah,
this
we-
discussion
No,
on
please
very
carry-
just very
please-
short time.
yeah,
but this is a
yes.
very interesting presentation, Mr. K.L. Kumar.
Yeah.
But what I would like to say is perhaps many Buddhist converts who do not understand the precepts of Buddha. That's the unfortunate part. I'm not really referring
No,
to his
no,
movement.
no,
We
I
can
mean,
discuss. Okay.
we can.
We are short
Yeah.
of time. Thank you.
Yeah.
So there is also what we call the doctrinal Neo-Buddhism and also the popular one, where Ambedkar himself is worshipped as a god. He was totally opposed to the divine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Explain as to why this conversion, the tribals or the Dalits to
Yeah.
actually convert when they are in distress, or is there a movement behind it?
No, they embraced Navayana Buddhism because they reject the caste system and they want to be accepted, not in terms of being of a particular caste, but of being human.
I just like to add on, it's a very recent report that we have got. There's an NGO by the name of Compassion International.
Yeah.
And it's been funded by United States. It was been, because now it has been removed from India. And the maximum number of conversions in Dalits happen in Christianity. There was around 392 crores of funding yearly which happened. But I've never heard about Navayana, means this conversion into Buddhism in Dalits in such a high.
It has taken place. But you're not aware of it.
I'm really surprised about
This is not reported in the media, but it's reported in these websites. That's where you have to go to find out. Next October, go to these websites, check it out.
Okay.
Every year, thousands. I'm not exaggerating. Thousands embrace Buddhism.
Yeah, my question is just so that it relates to the theme of this conference. Is the digital environment helping to spur the conversion? Or what are the factors that are spurring the conversion?
No, it's possible that quite a few are following these websites and are opting for conversion.
Now we need to restrict presentation. We can have discussion more. So if you can give your presentation in 15 minutes, then we can have more time for discussions.